Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm just getting ready to head into the gym and wanted to kind of share an update slash my thoughts with you regarding something I've been dealing with and how you can apply my experience to hopefully your training and kind of learn alongside me, so to speak. So today I wanted to talk about being flexible in your training, but not being overly flexible, if that makes sense. So I'm going to hedge my bet a little bit here as far as what we're talking about. And specifically, I've been dealing with a little bit of shoulder discomfort. So essentially, right after North Americans, I took about a week off, as I usually do, and then I got back to training. And we jumped right into higher frequency benching. So I was benching competition style 3 times a week at pretty regular volume. And even during that time, I was sharing with you all, I was saying, hey, we have to take it slow, ramp yourself back in, because you just have the taper right off of the competition and then some time off. Body's just not ready to jump right back into the intensities that you were doing before. So even though I was highly aware of that, I still managed to get some aching in my shoulder from the benching, right? And I've talked about it. It isn't like I'm not hurt, I'm not injured. It is just hurting. And I can tell it's a little bit of an overuse thing, maybe a rotator cuff or a little bit of bursitis in the shoulder, and I can just feel it as I go through the range of motion. Now, we tried to deal with it for a few weeks, and I was working on an RPE style of training so I could dial it back when I needed to and then push it whenever I was feeling good. And that certainly works well. And that's where it gets into this fine line of, yes, we needed to stick it out with the training, and I was pushing through what I needed to, but I had to recognize when it was time to take a step back and when I'm towing the line of some sort of injury. So a couple weeks ago at this point, I talked with Bill, my coach, Bill McCarthy, as you all know, and, he switched it up because that shoulder just didn't seem to be dealing with the frequency. And I hit that point where I was like, okay, it's probably time to switch up the routine just because things aren't being optimal. I felt like I was running on a treadmill. So we switched, and it's the day that I'm going in to do now. You'll probably see some of the training around while I'm talking. And we switched to the Swiss bar, or the football bar, you may want to call it, where you have the more neutral handles. And that has really helped my shoulder pain. Honestly, with my shoulder internally rotated like that, it doesn't bother it at all. And that way we can get away with a day of benching without any aggravation. And then later in the week, I can do a competition bench. And if it does tax whatever's kind of inflamed on that shoulder, I have a whole nother week before I have competition bench again. So we're still early in this pivoting process, but I can tell already, like, the shoulder is not uncomfortable just sitting around and to move it in everyday activities. And I know that's a step in the right direction. So my main takeaway I wanted to kind of provide for you all here, and I'll keep it fairly short, is that you have to know when to pivot and know when things aren't working, right? The high frequency just wasn't going to work out this time. And it was because my shoulder was acting up. But you can't pivot at the first sign of anything going wrong. If I were to list out all the times that something felt bad for the first couple of weeks of doing a new form of training, and then it pivoted and started going really well, and I had a great training cycle after that, we would be here for hours, because it is a fairly regular occurrence. There's some adaptation that has to happen with your body to get ready for the different training styles. So that there's this fine line of, recognizing that something's not feeling great, but still giving it the old college effort and putting in the work. And if it doesn't pay off and things don't come around within, 3 or 4, maybe even 5 weeks, then you need to pivot. And that's when you change things up and kind of be flexible in your training. But don't be afraid the other way either. Don't be so locked into your program that you end up hurting yourself. I've done that plenty of times too. I'm someone who, if it's written down, I'm doing it, and that's it. So I won't keep you all any longer. I appreciate you tuning in and watching until this point. I apologize for the lack of videos lately. As you know, I've been busy. School started back up, so I am trying to get at least 2 videos out per week, plus all the shorts from my training. So I appreciate all of the support as always. Thank you all for tuning in, and happy training. See you in the next one.